Labour have spent the weekend pushing their message on the economy. Speaking at a campaign rally in London yesterday, Jeremy Corbyn promised a Labour government would fix what he called the rigged economy.
People are fed up. They're fed up with not being able to get somewhere to live. They're fed up with waiting for hospital appointments. They're fed up with 0 hours contracts. They're fed up with low pay. They're fed up with debt. They're fed up with not being able to get on in their lives because we have a system that's rigged against so many.
And we're joined now from Newcastle by Labour's Elections and Campaigns Coordinator Ian Lavery. Welcome to the Sunday Politics.
Good morning.
Mr Lavery, to deal with this rigged economy, as Mr Corbyn calls it, the Shadow Chancellor, John McDonnell, he's got a 20-point plan for workers out today. When you add up everything he plans to do to help workers, how much will it cost?
Well, the full costings, one thing I need to say at the very beginning, the costings of any policy which we've already ruled out and any policy which we will be rolling out in the next few days and the next few weeks will be fully costed in the manifesto. And in addition to the fact that it'll be fully costed, in addition to that, we'll say in the manifesto how indeed that has been funded. So we're very clear. Anything that we've said already, and there's been some exciting policy releases, and there'll be more in the future, anything we're going to do will be fully costed and will be in the manifesto.
But you've announced the 20-point plan. But you can't tell me what the cost will be this morning. So at the moment, it's a menu without prices.
It isn't a menu without prices. What it is, it's a fantastic opportunity. This 20-point plan is something which will transform the lives of millions and millions of people in the workplace.
But what's the cost?
And it'll be welcomed by many people across the UK. The fact that the costings haven't been released, you'll have to be very patient, Andrew. That will be released very clearly. We'll identify that in the manifesto.
Well, let me just come down to one of the points, the end of the public sector pay freeze. Can you give us any idea how much that will cost?
Well, the end of the public sector pay freeze is so important to the future of the Labour Party. It's a massive policy decision. And let me just say, at this stage, Theresa May, the Prime Minister, this morning on the March show, didn't have the common decency, courtesy or respect to condone the fact that nurses, the heroes of the NHS, have had a reduction of nearly 14% in their wages since 2010 and are using food banks to feed themselves. Does that not say everything that's wrong with today's society? So, that's why
so
the
can you tell me how much it will cost, which is what my question was?
Again, what I will say is that everything that the Labour Party pledges, everything that we come out with, what we roll out between now and June the 8th will be fully costed. People will be very much aware of how much the costings will be, where the funding will come from when the manifesto is published.
What about doubling paternity leave, a new £10 minimum wage, 4 new bank holidays? Do we have any idea what that will cost?
Again, listen, these are exciting new proposals. And of course they cost the money, but we're the 6th richest economy in the world. It's about redistribution of the wealth in which we create. We're seeing growth in the economy. It's about how we utilise the finances in the best way we possibly can for a fairer society, for the many and not the few.
You just can't tell me how much it will cost.
That's exactly why, I'll repeat again, Andrew, that you need to be very patient.
Do you know the cost yourself?
You need to be very patient.
Do you know, you're the head of the campaign, do you know the cost of these things yourself?
I'm very much aware of how much the costings are likely to be. They're being identified. They'll be published in the manifesto. You really do understand that I wouldn't be releasing today live on your show any costings or any predictions with regards to the manifesto.
Why not? You've released the policy. Why don't you release the cost?
Because we'll do it in fine detail and we'll identify it to the general public in the manifesto. And we'll not only just explain how much it will cost, we'll actually explain where that funding comes from. Be patient.
Will you finance, don't tell me the cost then, but will some of the costs be met by increase in what taxes?
I would think that at this point in time there's not any indication to increase basic taxes, and again the taxes and the spending of the Labour government with their proposals, the 20-point plan, the issues with regard to housing, the NHS, crime, education, they'll all be identified with the costings in the publication.
Can you tell us this morning, will tax for most people rise or not to finance this?
We in the Labour Party are looking to a fair tax system which will be clearly identified in the manifesto.
All right. You also, or Mr. MacDonald also wants to ban all zero-hour contracts. Will that include those who actually like zero-hour contracts?
Well, listen, there's nearly 1 million, depending on which figures you use, there's nearly 1 million people on zero-hour contracts, and the vast proportion of those want to be able to live a decent life. They want a secure life. They want to understand whether they'll be at work the next day, whether they've got
but will it include those who would rather...
And that's
look,
the
I
difficulty.
understand that a lot of people don't like zero-hour contracts, and your proposal would address that. But there are those, I've seen one survey where 65% of people on zero-hour contracts like the flexibility it gives them. Now, will you force them off zero-hour contracts, or if they like them, will they continue with them?
We'll be discussing it with employers to ensure that individuals in the workplace have got the right to negotiate hours in that workplace. Guaranteed hours is very, very important. Right. Zero-hour contracts, Andrew, are an instrument in which employers have used to exploit mainly young people, mainly female people in the workplace.
Right.
We'll be banning zero-hour contracts.
But there are those students, for example, who rather like them. Will they be forced off zero-hour contracts in your proposal? It's a simple question.
Our proposals will be banning zero-hour contracts and introducing contracts which have set hours in the workplace.
You know, you also say that no company will be able to bid for a public contract unless the boss earns no more than 20 times the lowest paid, or the average wage. I'm not quite sure which. Anyway, what would happen if British Aerospace bids to build more joint strike fighters and the boss is paid more than 20 times?
Well, again, that understand the point you raised, but we've got an obscene situation in this country, Andrew, which ordinary people, everybody recognises, whereby the bosses at the very top are making absolute fortunes.
But what would happen then? Who would build the joint strike fighters if the bosses be paid more than 20 to 1?
The difference in wages between the top earners in this country and the people who are in the factories, in the workshops, whatever, producing the goods.
I understand, Mr. Lavery. That's the reason you want a ratio. What I'm saying is, what happens if the ratio is greater? Who gets the contract if not British Aerospace? Who else would build the planes?
We're making this very clear that we're going to introduce a wage ratio of 1 to 20.
So who would build the joint strike fighter?
We want to close that gap between the people at the very top and the people who produce the goods.
Let me try one more time. Who would build the joint strike fighter?
We would look at the issue as it come along, but the policy is quite clear. And
Can you name a single defence contractor?
The policy is quite clear, Andrew.
Can you name a single defence contractor where the boss, his salary is less than 20 times average earnings in his company? Can you?
We would introduce, and we are introducing, we've rolled that out as part of this fantastic place to transform, this fantastic policies to transform society, to get rid of discrimination, to try and bring together our communities. And we will introduce a pay ratio of 1 to 20.
All right. Ian Lavery, that's clear enough. On that point anyway. Thank you very much.
Thank you.